So you've just launched your brand new landing page. It looks amazing, the traffic is flowing in, but wait, no conversions. Zero, zilch. You start scrambling, trying to fix it with best practice advice, but nothing's working. Sound familiar? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to cut through all the noise and confusion using a free behavioral analytics tool to pinpoint exactly what's wrong with your page. And I'll walk you through 10 simple steps to diagnose, fix, and start converting. Let's dive in. Hi guys, Sam here from Atomic Marketing. I've put together a 10-step heat map analysis framework to help you diagnose the key issues behind why your landing page isn't converting. It's a pretty simple framework that you can use to analyze scroll maps or heat maps and make actionable decisions backed on real data to improve your landing page performance. I personally have been in the position many times where I've felt stuck. I didn't really know what to do when it came to improving the landing page outside of, just changing headlines and changing images and just coming up with loads of different theories behind it. What this 10-step analysis framework will help you with is using a approach that you can follow and kind of work through the different things that are likely causing your page to have a low conversion rate. So in order to do this, you need a free account with Microsoft Clarity. It's 100% free for all the features. It's a heat map tool that allows you to see visitor recordings, click maps, scroll maps. You can segment all your data absolutely beautifully within it. I 100% recommend it. I don't think there's a paid tool as good as this free one out there. So all you need to do is set a free account up, and then for each site that you want to track, add a simple script to the header of the page, and off you go. So let's dive into the 10-step framework. Hey, real quick one. We've launched a private community called Lead Gen Alpha. Inside, we host weekly group coaching calls for Google Ads and landing pages, where you can bring any challenging accounts or landing pages for a live audit, and we'll get actionable advice over to you to improve them. It's perfect for agency owners, PPC practitioners, and freelancers running any form of lead gen campaigns for clients. If you want to learn more, check out the link in the description below. Now let's dive back into the video. So the first most obvious one is, of course, segmenting your scroll map analysis by device, desktop versus mobile. So you want to have a look at your design for both desktop and mobile pretty critically. Behavior is going to be very different on both device types. On mobile, users may scroll. They scroll faster typically and can drop off earlier due to limited screen space. And for each one of these different points that I have here on the 10-step framework, you can see I've got insight and I've got something called action. Action is the thing that you can actually do and start implementing to start improving your conversion rate, or gives you some kind of guidance of what to do based on the information that you're seeing. So for mobile, optimize your mobile experience by ensuring CTAs and important content are visible early on smaller screens. For mobile, you might want to reduce content length further or make key information more immediately accessible. So as I'm going to go through this presentation, I've got a live example from one of our client sites, and I'm going to show you a little bit of Microsoft Clarity as well. So here we are inside one of my accounts that I've got set up, and you can see here, you can see click maps where people are clicking on. So it gives you a good idea as to what certain interactions people are taking on the page. But what I really like to look at as well is the scroll map, and that's primarily what we're going to be looking at in this particular presentation. But scroll map gives you a very good idea as to where people are dropping off on the page and how far they're getting through, and if your content is ultimately resonating with them. In isolation, heat maps aren't going to tell you like the whole picture. Bear in mind that you do want to kind of take into context a few different things, but it's a very good tool to give you an idea of how far people are getting down the page. Are there any certain issues? Is there important information people are not seeing because they're not scrolling far enough? And as we go through this presentation, I'm going to just apply the kind of framework to this live example and then show you what I've done with this page as well since going through the framework myself. So let's go over to slide number 2. And this is identifying critical thresholds where users drop off. So you want to look for the 50 and 75% drop off points. And the insight behind this is scroll maps will often show where the majority of users stop scrolling. If 50% or more users are dropping off before reaching key content or call to actions, it indicates that critical information may be buried too far down the page. So what can you do about this? Move the most important content, e.g. your primary value propositions, the call to actions, higher up, ideally above the fold, to ensure it gets seen by most users. Now, a quick way to see these different drop-off points in clarity is you've got this drop-off percentage here. You can click on roughly where 50%, so we can see 40% of users are dropping off here, which is 25% down the page. So that tells me this section here just may be a bit too cumbersome, too much heavy paragraphs of text, which may not be engaging enough. So I'm going to show you what I've reworked that to in a moment, but just gives you a bit of idea on, okay, I'm looking at where people are dropping off, which is literally right below the hero section on mobile. What can we do about it? How can we be a bit more critical with the content that we have here? Is there anything else that we could be doing? So let's go into point number 3. Ensure key CTAs and content appear above drop-off points. So the action item position, CTA, and benefits above drop-off zones. If important CTAs, forms, or conversion-focused content appear after users have started dropping off, this may be a signal to reposition those elements. So if we come back to our client example here, you can see we actually have right here at the bottom, this best price guarantee, no hidden fees, and like this workmanship guarantee as well. And you can see only 12% of users are actually making it to the bottom of this part of the page. So that's quite a key value proposition that no one is seeing. So based on this step, that makes me think, okay, how can we better incorporate this guarantee into the hero section? Because if all these people are missing out on it, I may be missing out on a key trust signal, which could be improving my conversion rate. So action item for this is adjust your page so that the most important actions, contact us or get free quote, appear before the majority of users stop scrolling. So that's kind of, with the guarantee, that's slightly different. And with the way we build our landing pages, they will naturally always have our CTAs above the fold in the hero. You can see we've got one up here and here as well. But also look to see what supportive content you could use in the above the fold section that can help actually inspire people to take action, is what I'm kind of saying on here. Because naturally, most of your pages are going to have the best practice advice already implemented, such as, CTAs above the fold, but kind of look for these other sort of things that can help supplement that. Now, number 4, review engagement at key sections before and after drop off. And what you want to do is analyze interaction at engagement peaks. So naturally, the hero section is always going to be a very red section. What you want to do is actually find out where do you have like a good, consistent color in the scroll map. Because what you'll find is that areas which have a lot of color actually have a relatively high level of engagement. So you can see we're not getting a huge drop off in this section here. Like the percentage of users reaching the point is slowly declining, but it is holding attention here. Now, as we come down, you can see, okay, it's now starting to get really blue. And then you can see like from here to here, where the color starts to contrast quite significantly. That's where you're getting like these huge drop-offs. But the peaks are when you can see very little drop-off across different percentage scroll sections. So what we want to do here is keep the content that drives high engagement or consider expanding it if it's particularly effective. So if it's a service feature, a testimonial, or guarantee section, consider adding a CTA nearby. So if we come back in here, I personally, having reviewed this, I don't feel this is hugely valuable. It seems to be having some level of engagement, but based on that point there, I could try and incorporate some kind of call to action in the middle of these, or rework this section entirely just to be a bit more condensed, which I have done and I will show you later on with the end product. But what you want to see is just how long are people kind of spending in these different sections. And while a heat map isn't going to show you like the time on site in certain sections, it will just give you some kind of indication of where people are spending time in terms of that kind of color gradient, if that makes sense. Now, point number 5, evaluate page length versus content density. So you may want to test shorter or condensed versions of the page, particularly if you have a very long form landing page and you're not getting any conversions. It can be very difficult to diagnose what's going on with it. Is it this section, that section, this section that's causing like the people to drop off? So condensing your page might be a smart move. So if you've got a long page, low engagement at the especially at the bottom, and people aren't making it down through the whole page, it may be overwhelming for users. So if you see a sharp drop off after the first few scrolls, the page may just be too long or just not engaging enough. So a good action that you can take is test a shorter, more concise version of the page that delivers key messages and value propositions earlier, and if necessary, move detailed content like FAQs to a separate page or make it into a collapsible section with read more options. So you can see here in this particular example, I've redesigned this landing page from this size here on desktop to this one, which is a bit more of a condensed version. You can see in this section here with the different services, I've actually set it up into a 3-column aligned section, which I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so here is the original page that you can see. It actually performs pretty well, which is why we've not really turned our attention too much to it. But you can see it's a relatively short page, but it could be condensed. And what I've done since going through this framework is condensed it into this section into a 3-column layout. And I've removed a section that I just feel didn't really add too much value. And I've got this section in here now where I've actually improved the overall design aesthetic. Well, I feel I have, in my own opinion, and use the small arrow to just kind of guide people and let them know there is another section that they can keep scrolling down to. So if we look on mobile, I think it looks a lot smarter. Maybe I can move my head out the way here. As we come down here, you can see I've moved this title into the image itself. I didn't want to make any too bolder changes because, again, this page is working, but I do feel we can squeeze a few more % out of this. And most people aren't really making it past this top section. So now with this section here on the mobile hero, you can actually see further content as you land on the page, and that will inspire people to come down and be like, okay, there is more stuff that I can scroll through and see. And overall, I think it just looks a little bit smarter. I've removed one of the testimonials from the mobile version from 4 to 3, and overall just way more condensed and easier to digest. So let's jump back to the presentation. So actually shortening the page is a good cure to improving your drop-off rates, especially if you find it very early on. Now, number 6, you want to assess the content's purpose and valuable. And this goes back to what I was sharing in the previous slide. You need to match content placement to user intent. And this is really important because what you'll find is that there are no two exact same landing pages. You might have a certain best practice layout that you're using, but every industry is going to be quite different. And you need to really think, okay, what order of content should I have for this specific client or industry? And a good insight is to ask yourself, does this content belong here based on user intent? So if users are dropping off before reaching important content, e.g. like the service descriptions, which you could see in my example there, many people just weren't actually getting to the different service sections that this company offers. It may be because the content doesn't align with what they expect at that point. So if we come back to our heat map here, you can see here in this hero section, we've got 15,000 plus windows installed, 4,000 plus doors installed. So like, maybe this just doesn't deserve a spot right here. Like, we're trying to push the fact that they've done all these different things, but really people want to know, hey, do you do windows, doors? Like, do you cover the exact services that I'm looking for right now? Yes, we've got it in the headline, but maybe they need a bit more reassurance outside of that. So just like a way to kind of look at that critically and to really think, actually, do I need that? Does it look like, is it aesthetically look pleasing, but what purpose or what function does it actually serve? So the action item on this is reorder content so that it flows logically based on the user's journey. So for example, you can show benefits and features early on and then follow with social proof at the end with a call to action. Again, like there's not going to be one thing which is right for every single industry here. It's just something and a guideline that you can use to figure out what you can change, if that makes sense. Okay, so point number 7 is investigate the gap between engagement and conversion points. So what you want to look at is for sections of the page which are getting engagement, and like we identified earlier on, we had this main service section in this 2-column layout, but we're not getting conversions, or we're potentially missing out on conversions in this section. So people are spending time here, but we might not be getting conversions. So look through sections where users are scrolling through content and perhaps not converting. And to see that in detail, you probably need to look at the visitor recordings and assess whether there is a disconnect between engaging content and your call to action. So are users reading through your case studies or looking through your project galleries or testimonials, but not seeing a call to action soon after? Yes, I know people can scroll, but you do need to make it very clear to them and prompt them at every moment that you get a chance. So your action item on this is to add CTAs directly after engaging content. So it could be after testimonials or a project gallery would be very appropriate, seeing like their past work. Oh yeah, I like this, that makes sense. How about I get a quote for myself? That sort of thing, you know. And this will ultimately reduce the friction between interest and action. So number 8, test landing page variations based on your scroll data. So once you've actually had a look through all of your scroll map data and your heat map, how people are using it, you can create an A/B test focused on the scroll insight. So I know from the example that I shared with you that we are just getting a huge drop-off rate right after the hero section. And what I want to do is improve time on site, because I know that if I can improve time on site, then it's of statistical certainty that we're more likely to get conversions. So I remove this section and I rejig this section to be a bit more shorter and condensed. You can see here, it gave us a much more easy to digest section, which is now available to see on the mobile hero section. And with this campaign, most of our traffic is mobile, so that's why I'm showing mostly mobile examples. So run an A/B test to see which version gets better conversion rate. And you can test variations against the original and then track improvements in terms of the overall conversion rate, bounce rate, which is actually now called the engagement rate in GA4. So the bounce rate probably isn't relevant anymore. And really just look at and see how your scroll map data changes based on the 2 different designs. So I would feel pretty confident that my variant B design now, which I'll hopefully in a future video show you the results of this, should perform better in terms of people actually scrolling further down through the content. Because I know if I can get more people through the page, seeing the different content that we have, getting through the testimonials, reading the guarantee, then there's a higher chance that we will be able to improve our conversion rate. And number 9, analyze active time spent for engagement and clarity. So what you want to do here is have a look at the main screen in Clarity. Let me see if I can get that for you. Here on the main screen, you can see I've got data for the last 3 days, but what you want to look at is this active time spent. And here you can set out which page URL that you want to look at, but look at the active time spent. And this is the average time spent in the session. So if you find that this number is really low and you've actually got a very low average time spent on your landing page, then that's likely going to indicate that the page doesn't have enough clarity. And so if it's 20 seconds or less or even lower, it's likely that people just don't understand the page's purpose or value proposition. It's probably more likely they just don't understand what the page is about. And what you'll find is a lot of people may have landing pages with a big banner hero image. Text might be a bit further down the page, or it might be a headline which is just trying to be a bit too clever and it's not clear what the page is about. And when the page isn't clear, that's when you have the highest level of people clicking the back button and spending the smallest amount of time that they can on the website because they just don't get what's going on. So when it comes to that, if you see a low time on site, then improve the hero headline and the imagery to make it very clear what the page is about. It's pretty simple, but a good important thing to realize. And finally, point number 10 is look for dead zones and remove distractions. So you can either remove or revamp sections where you find there's no engagement occurring. So like you can see here at the very bottom of the page, like we've just got this section which went from kind of a green straight into blue. We could look to remove it, or potentially, so if we go back to our page and heat maps here, okay, so let's go back to the scroll maps. We come right down, you can see from here we've got this like very few people actually making it to the testimonials. We could try and figure out a way to tie in testimonials into the other content further up the page. So that could be one option, or just remove it altogether. I probably wouldn't do that. I just think our problem here anyway is the fact that the content just isn't engaging enough in this section here. So, but if you've got like certain sections which people just aren't reaching to, and you could actually think to yourself, hey, you know what, maybe we can just do away with it, then very much consider that an option. Like, don't keep it just for the sake of having it. So consider removing or consolidating section to streamline the user journey. Alternatively, you can always replace the sections with more engaging content, such as testimonials with maybe, like in our case, it'd be testimonials with actual imagery of the work that's been done. It could be video testimonials or other visual element that's going to better keep the user's attention. So just like really critically look at the content on the page and think, okay, what can we actually do here to improve it? So that pretty much concludes all the 10 different things that you can do with a heat map and scroll map. I know we've not gone into crazy detail on the individual things like click maps and visitor recordings, but I wanted to focus on the scroll maps because if people just aren't scrolling down far enough on the page, then it clearly indicates that you need to do something with the content to help inspire to get them further down the page, give them a reason to keep going through the content. Because like we said, if you can get people to consume more of the content, you get more of an opportunity to convince them to make an inquiry with you. So in summary, I've put together 5 of these key points into like a quick condensed version of what you can do to follow. So number 1, analyze behavior by device. It is really important that you understand the difference between how people are using the desktop versus the mobile version of the landing page. Two, look at where 50% and 75% of users are dropping off and reposition critical content before these points. So in our case here, it may be that we reposition our guarantee further up the page. Number three, identify peaks in engagement and align CTAs. So add CTAs near engagement peaks to capitalize on user attention. So where you see a very low drop-off rate throughout the page, so you might, if we come back to our report here, you can see like sections where we're not getting a massive drop-off rate and people are clearly going through the content, then look to incorporate a call to action somewhere within these sections. And then test different page lengths. If drop-offs are early, try making a shorter version of the page or restructuring the page entirely. It could be that to test and truly understand what's going on, you need to create a shorter version of the page and then section by section add them in to figure out how we can get people to stay longer and keep scrolling further down on the page. And finally, point number 5, and I think this is probably one of the most important points, is track content relevance, where you need to reorganize content to match user expectations at various scroll points. Now, this is probably the most important because I truly think every page for every single different industry is going to be different. There's going to be different expectations of what people want to find at certain points. So applying a one-size-fits-all best practice landing page structure might not be the best move. So I could give quite a few different examples, but in something like skip or dumpster hire, people want to understand a guideline of sizing. What size do I need? So that actually may be more important than trying to showcase social proof before anything. So just really think about the industry and what people expect to see. And look at some of the top websites in each of the industries and see what they're doing. It might not always be right, but it will give you ideas as to the order and hierarchy of the content that you should be including on your landing pages. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it has given you some kind of framework that you can use to follow and get actionable insights and ideas as to what to do to improve your landing page conversion rate. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, I'd be hugely appreciative if you could give it a like and hit the subscribe button if you are interested in following on for more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.